All right, welcome back, welcome back. So today we are going to be continuing on our lab series, and we are going to be building a NAS. So basically, it's a network attached storage. If you've never heard of NAS before, some folks say NAS, however you want to say it. So the type we're going to be building is called TrueNAS. It's a open source operating system that is actually out there that allows you to build network attached storage. Okay, so the version we're going to be using is actually TrueNAS Core, and that's basically through the company, of course, that you know sells or develop this thing. It's TrueNAS.com. So you can go to the website, and I'm going to try to pull it up right here, show you what it looks like. So you can go to the website here, and you can basically download TrueNAS Core. As you can see, it's the world's most popular software-defined storage that's out there. And I'm pretty sure there's different ones you can choose from. But for this demo and this lab, this is one that we're going to use. So once you wanted to get started, you can go to software and go to TrueNAS Core. And you're going to go ahead and download TrueNAS Core right here. Once it's downloaded, it's going to turn into an ISO, which will look something like this right here. So inside of all my ISOs that I've downloaded, TrueNAS is going to look like that. Okay, and you're going to need this to boot up your operating system of obviously. So once this is downloaded, we can close this out, and we're going to go ahead and fire up Hyper-V. That's the box we've been, and we're going to build out a brand new VM. So the VM that we're going to need is a generation 1. Okay, so we want to make sure that we choose generation 1 on this VM for specifically for this TrueNAS. So as you can see, I have a script that I'm using now to make life a little bit easier. So just one click and it builds it. So as you can see, I just created this new VM. Take a look at it. And we want to look at the settings real quick. So there's no media attached to it as yet. And also in the settings, we only have some boot from IDE, obviously. It's recommended that this starts off with about 8 gigs of RAM. So 8 gigs of RAM, I think, is 8096. I believe so. And we'll start off that amount of RAM. We can leave it. Enabled memory is fine, so it's dynamic, it will go. But the minimum that we want to use is 8096. And like I said, if you don't have this amount of RAM, you can play with this on a single machine just to test it out and try it out. Because when you talk about network attached storage, it uses a lot of RAM and it needs to be fast so that everyone can access it. Default switch is fine. This is the switch we've been using. We have a DVD here. Here's where you can attach the bootable. So we're going to go here and click browse, and we're going to go to our ISOs, and we're going to make sure that TrueNAS is selected right here. Now this is the first hard drive that's attached, and because this is going to be a network attached storage, we want to have additional drives that we will use for this server. So I'm going to go ahead and build through PowerShell a few additional hard drives that we're going to use to connect to this server. So I'm going to go to where I store all my VMs and my VM hard disk. Right here, I only have one, which is going to be where the operating system is loaded. But I want to create and then attach a couple more. So instead of me going through Hyper-V, I have a script already that I'm going to use to just build out about 4 of those. Right, and as you can see, there you go. So I built out. Need to do number 3. Okay, so there you go. I have 4 new attached hard drives that I'm going to attach to this NAS server. It's not attached yet, so I need to go ahead and also attach those. So let's go ahead and attach these. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and click apply, and let's go to refresh real quick. And as you can see, I refreshed the server, and I have the TrueNAS, which is the first IDE here. 01 is attached, 02 is attached, 03 is attached, 04 is attached. Right, there you go. So that means I have 4 additional drives that I can play with. I have a network switch, my memory, at least 8 gigs, and then this, you might want to bump that up to 2 processors if you have it available. And we're going to click apply and click OK. So this is just now boosting up this TrueNAS server so that it will have enough memory and processing speed to get it off the ground. And then by default, we're going to go ahead and start the process. So ahead, click start, and this needs to be booted from CD. So there you go, it's booting from the CD. This is actually the CD in here, so that's what it will look like. It will auto boot itself, so you really don't have to do much as long as the ISO is mounted properly. And this is running. So on the first screen, this is what it will look like. It's going to ask you to install, and then there's additional commands. So we're going to make sure we hit install. So it's just number 1, click OK. And spacebar. So as you can see, DA0 is the virtual disk that I'm going to install the operating system on. These other 4 disks, we're going to use those as our NAS attached storage for pushing out to the network. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and click enter. It's going to tell you it's going to erase all the partition on the A0, which is the name of the disk 0. So if that's good, we're going to click yes. Now you need to create a password here. You need to remember this password because this is a password that you're going to have to use to log in to the server once it's completed. We're going to boot via BIOS, and then we're going to let it run. And if you watch right here, it will go through the process and it will show you everything that's happening. Okay, so you can stay tuned and watch this. It's fairly quick. The installation 1 out of 3, and it's not that bad. For me, I'm going to pause the video. And once you get to 3 out of 3, we will resume. Okay, folks, so we're back. Installation has been completed. Didn't really take long, maybe about a minute. And we just want to go ahead and remove the meter. So this is saying go ahead and eject this drive. So let's eject this. Make sure there's no meter inside of it. And then we're going to go ahead and click OK. Now we want to reboot the system. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and reboot. And the reboot for this also is doesn't take that long either. I would say maybe 2 minutes the most, but just for just to not keep you guys waiting too long, I'm gonna go ahead and pause the video, and we're gonna let this run. Actually, no, so we can continue because as you can see, it started up. And if you want to just watch this run through, I think this is actually good for you to see. So let's go ahead and wait on this real quick. There you go. I was feeling for orange juice. I don't know. I wanted some fresh squeezed orange juice, so I decided to make me some. And there you go. So now it is starting up all the interfaces. You can see the gateway has been added. This is a loopback, right? This is in the table. And if you just watch the screen, you can see everything that's happening. Good information, nothing for you to really worry about. Once this is complete, it's going to give you an IP address from your DHCP server that you're going to use to actually log in. And then you're going to use that to open up a browser. And the password, like I was telling you earlier. So there you go. This is the interface that we're going to need to use to get into this NAS server. Now, if you look at the top from 1 through 10, it's just basic configurations that you could use. Nothing much you got to worry about here. because everything we need was going to be on the GUI side. So let's minimize this. Let's go ahead and open up PC3, which is our test box. And we're going to go ahead and log in. I had one working before, so that was a printer driver. So let's go ahead and try to ping 103. All right, so we can communicate with the server itself, so that means there shouldn't be a problem for us trying to get to it. So let's go ahead and open up the browser. So as you can see over here, we're trying to get to 103. So it's going to be 172. 172.16.03. Go ahead and click enter. Then the default should be root. And then the password is whatever you set. And click never. So this is the password that you set earlier in the beginning. So right now we want to start off. You can look through the dashboard. It will show you that we have 7.9 gigs available. You can see some information here on the dashboard. You can scroll over and you can see the first thing we want to do is go to network, and we are going to go to interfaces. And as you can see, HN0 is a physical network card that we're using right there. This is the IP address /16 that we're using. Let's go ahead and click on this arrow right here, and it will show you all the configurations that are here. I want to go ahead and click edit, and I want to turn this. I'm going to turn off DHCP because I want to set a permanent address for this box. So let's go ahead and disable this, and let's give this an IP address 172.16.1. And then if you remember your cut sheet, we always talk about cut sheet. So I had on here that my box would be .92. Okay, so that will be the address for my NAS server, and you want to make sure you select the right subnet mask. So this would be /16, and we're going to go ahead and, if this is okay, we're going to click add, and we're going to go ahead and click apply. Now right here we can test the changes to make sure that it was good to go. So let's go ahead and test changes, confirm, and we're going to test the changes. Right, and if all is well, we can go ahead and log into the new address. So 172, let's change that to, we were 90, what did we set it as? 92. So 92 should be the box. And there you go. So that means it took the IP address and everything is good to go. And we can log back into the server, click save. Okay. And that is it. So now the old server has been disconnected, and we know that .92 now is matching up with our cut sheet, which we had already had set here. So you can see that we identified when we were making out our cut sheet that NAS is going to be on the .92. I'm going to highlight that green to make sure that it's active. And like I said, this is always a running document. So once you have these built out, you can go ahead and activate them. Everything that's green is what we built out so far. So I'm just going to go ahead and activate these real quick just to make sure that we're good to go. Okay, so seems like these are what we have so far. Let's go ahead and minimize them. Now back to the server. Sorry for the distraction. So we set an IP address, and this is good to go, right? So here goes the next step. All right, so for the next step, we need to go ahead and create storage. So click on storage, and you want to go to pools, and no pools have been created. This is basically the storage area for all of the hard drives. So we're going to go ahead and click add. and we're going to create a new pool since nothing is there, and click OK. Now, here earlier that I showed you all the disks that are available to be used, you will see. So if you notice, you do not see disk 02 because the operating system is loaded on there. So it's not going to give you that opportunity to put anything on disk 0, because when all of these are combined, they're going to actually be wiped, and you don't want to wipe your operating system. So you can do a suggested layout, and if you type or click it, it will show you that all of these disks can actually be built into what's called a VDEV, or like an array for like an array per se. So let's go ahead and give this a name. I want to call this storage, and I'm going to go ahead and click all of these boxes, or you can just click the check mark up there. For this is selected. Here you can select the type of RAID that you want. So basically, you have the ability, since it's 4 drive, you can do stripe, mirror, and all that good stuff. I'm going to leave it as default, okay? And we're going to just go ahead and click create. As you can see, once I do, once I click this, it will show you the estimated raw capacity of these are going to be. Because it's 4 drives and it's using some type of RAID, that means the amount of storage is going to change. So if you click on stripe, for example, you can see that 52 gigs will be available, but then it's telling you that it's highly discouraged and it can result in data loss if it fails. So it will give you the mirror option. If it's been mirror, you only have 13 gigs, right? The RAID Z only give you 39, and then the Z2 gives you 26. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and click create. That was just to show you how the pool works. Right? Creating the pool shouldn't take that long. Check mark show that it's good to go, and that shows you basically how the pool was created. Over here on the ellipsis side, you can go ahead and you can add a new data set if you choose to. You can do quotas for the different users, group quotas, and so forth. A lot of little different actions that are also set here. It's time for us to create our share. You want to click on sharing, which is right over here to the left, and we're going to go to Windows Share. And since there's no share also created for my Samba, we're going to go ahead and click add. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. You need to show or tell Windows or tell the box where you want to create the share. So since it was this one, remember we named it storage. This is where we're going to click submit. You can click advanced options if you want, and you can select a few different parameters here. Use as home share, you know, guest as the access and all that good stuff. But for now, we're just going to go ahead and submit and enable this service. Right there, it tells you that the service has been enabled. Click close. And here you can go ahead and edit the storage if you choose to. Give it a description and all that good stuff. But for now, we're just going to keep it as the defaults. Okay, so the share is good. Like I said, you can click here to do edits if you wanted to. But for the most part, this is the basics that you need. Now what we need to do, we need to go ahead and we need to create an account, a user account that we can use to access this. So by default, root will always have permission, read, write, and execute. But let's go ahead and click add, and we're going to add the name of our new guy. So let's do Justin East. Right there, that's his full name. I'm going to call it J East for his username. Email address is optional, you know, we have to put there, and then let's give it a password. And we need to confirm. Okay. By default, whenever you create a new user, it creates a group as well. So you will see that this checkbox is also clicked. So it's going to create also a user ID and a group together with the same property. Okay. Now, if you want to scroll down right here, if you click on this little box, it will show you that this authentication method will connect anything that's Windows 8 or a new operating system if it matches for a user account for Microsoft Windows users. So I want to go ahead and check this box as well, just for authentication purposes. So if you're trying to log in a user that has a Microsoft account, it will also sync with your NAS server. And if everything looks good, you want to go ahead and click submit. And as you can see, um, this is the new user that we have right here. Okay, so if everything's good to go, this is just the basics. Like I said, we're just walking through the basics. So once you have just the basic user account with the group, you have your storage connected, your network card is working, and you have some type of sharing going on, we can go ahead and test this box. So we can minimize this, and we can go ahead and try to test Mountain um, to see if this drive will also work. So let's go ahead and add a network location. Nope, not that way. Let's go up to here, this PC. Go on the computer, Mac network drive, and then this is where we're gonna go. So you can do /, and you can type the IP address. So 172.16.1.92/. One cool feature I like, if you hit the browse under here, it will give you. So let's type in root, or we can do Justin, and we're going to type in the credentials to get to it. Ooh, didn't like that. So this is because I'm looking for a Windows. This is looking for Windows, right? So use a different account. Right, so as you can see, once you click it, it will see the storage. So that is one way of you being able to see the storage right there, and you can click OK. If you already know the name, you can just type the name and then you can click finish. And as you can see, we are connected, and the storage right here is connected to our TrueNAS server right here. So just like similar when we created this file share, this is one way of creating a file share, and then the TrueNAS also is just another version of creating a network attached storage drive. Using the resources, using tools, and outside software, we were able to make this happen. Now, one good way we can also do this, we can remove this, disconnect, right? And let's say we wanted to push this across the network. You know how we can do this. Let's fire up the main guide, go to our domain controller, and we want to create login GPO that is going to give everyone access. So this was file share mapping. So what we're going to do today, we're going to create a new GPO, right? So let's go to group files objects, create new, and this one is going to call NAS storage. Okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and now I want to give this to everybody on the network. So this is fine. We're going to enforce it as well, and then let's go ahead and edit this GPO. And if you remember, this was a user policy, Windows. Actually, I think it was on the preferences. Windows, and we are going to go to drive maps. So since this is a new, we're going to go new map drive. This is going to be create, and we're going to do the label the same way we did earlier. So 172.16.1.92/storage. Right, that is the name of it. We're going to reconnect, and we're going to call this NAS storage. Oh, storage. Wow. So we can call this NAS storage, right? Which is fine, or we can call this NAS server, or we could call it NAS drive. It doesn't matter. I want this to be the November drive, so I'm going to give it November to match up with NAS. And we're going to click apply, right? And then click OK. So there you go. So now I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to get this pushed out to everybody. Make sure this is working. All right, so let's go ahead and refresh the domain controller. as well. So GPU update. All right, updating our GP, our group policy on the domain controller, and now we need to fire back up our PC3. So now whenever a user log in, what we're looking for is to have, let's go to PowerShell. We're looking for to make sure that everyone can connect to the NAS storage whenever they log in. And like before, sometimes you may have to do a restart after GPU update for it to take effect. So we're trying to do an update so that this GPO can push. There you go. So all I did was a GPU update, and because I have a group policy being pushed, it now added this. So that means all my users have access to this drive when they log in. Simple. Same way we did this, just a GPU to push this, and now everyone can access it. And then it's the same thing. You can check to see if you can connect, create a folder. It will tell you don't have permissions, access is denied, and that's only because during the storage over here, you have to make sure that you give permissions to, where do we go? You got to make sure that the permissions are given to, for example, Justin East. He has access, but not everybody has access to it. So once you go in, you'll need to edit the permissions, right? So that those individual users will have access to the drive itself. So basically you can select this, others have right access to it, and you can also do the guess as well. So basically you can select, they're not a part of that group. You can do built-in administrator, built-in users, make sure you give them access. You just have to play with the permissions how you want it, right? So that new users will have access to create folder, right? And this right here is just basically Justin doesn't have access because this is being pushed from the GPO, and you will just have to configure your NAS to give permissions to that box. All right, so that error now earlier when I was showing it to you guys. So if you try to go into here and you try to create a new folder, you won't be able to because you just don't have permissions on the NAS server itself. So what we could do, we can build this out by departments per se, and only give rights to certain individuals per guidance or whatever. So you can go back to the storage pool and we can apply simple permissions here. So by default, you won't be able to apply permissions to the root database. As you can see, the root data set you won't be able to. So what we can do, we're going to click add data set. And a data set is like a new folder that's going to be created into the storage. So you can create HR, sales, whatever. And then from here, you can apply the permissions. You can inherit or you cannot inherit the permissions. So if you look at it, you can see it's going to inherit the encryption properties of the data set. So you can inherit it or you can turn it off. It's really up to you. So all of these, you can play with the compression level and all that good stuff, right? So let's keep this the same and we're going to click submit. And as you can see, when we go back to test here, if you click on it, sales shows up. Still won't have access to this because the permissions have not been granted yet. So we're going to go back over here and let's go ahead and play with the permissions a little bit. So edit permissions, and you can see now we're inside of the cells and we want to edit the permissions. Let's go ahead and use the ACL manager, and we're going to click on the default and we're going to click open. So if you want to give this to everybody, right? And as you can see, if you look at the access control list, you'll see add owner, add group, everyone, right? All of those have. So you can go ahead and click apply permissions recursively right here, and it will tell you. So that means if you apply permission recursively to all directories and follow this current data set, right? And if you have child data sets underneath, you can also do the same thing as well, right? So root still has permission. The group is still here. right? And you can change this to whoever you want to have access into the um, the group. I'm gonna go to built-in users, and I'm gonna apply that there. And let's keep this as root. No need to change this because this is where we used this to set up earlier. And we're gonna click save. Now let's go back and do a real test to see can we create a folder. And then as you can see now it gives you the permissions to create a folder. So test right there. And if I go inside here, I can also create another folder and it's nested properly. You can play with the permissions however you want, based on your, guidance or SOPs or whatever. But if you want everyone to have access to this, you can open it up. If you want it to be restricted to only certain individuals, right? You can also edit the permissions yourself because you can select an ACL and you can change it between open, restricted, and home. Basically, it will just replace the one that's configured and you can play with the permissions. There's so many different ways you can do this. It's just really up to you. But as you can see on the ACL, you have different settings that you can play with, different settings that you can use to actually modify the permissions. You can create more data sets if you want to have different organizations or whatever. This is a more advanced way of doing file share, but it's worth the, I guess, it's worth the cost if you want to try something different and set up different permissions. Okay. I think this wraps up or sums up this video. So you can see now we have our NAS storage connected. We can go into sales, do the same thing. But if we go into here, right, we should be able to have restricted access because we can't create anything outside a folder. This is one good way of keeping your share drive clean, because sometimes when you give access to everybody on the main site, they just dump all type of folders and files there, and then it's just, oh my god, it's ridiculous. It's just clutter. So if you restrict certain people where they only can work inside of their own folders, and you give those permissions to them, that's also a good way, or a TTP that you can use. Right? So 2 storage files that were created today. We're just working on TrueNAS, just to go over the basics so you guys can see. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you appreciate or like the video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And I really appreciate you guys for watching. Until next time, ciao.